about it, but we can't go on without it.
Hey folks, welcome to Free Press Sports with Carlos and Sean. Carlos, my man, it's good to be back with you. It's been a minute. It's been a few weeks. I don't know. It feels like 6 months. How you doing? Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
New phone. Who dis? Who are you again?
I don't know. It's been. I don't know, man. How you been?
I've been good, man. I've been listening to a fantastic podcast on Freep.com called Free Press Sports with Sean and Mark Fellauer. It was really good. Take a listen. You can find it wherever you find your podcast. Rate it, subscribe, leave them a comment. Yeah, man, good. I've been had some time off. You had some time off. So how have you been?
Oh, by the way, you and Jeff are fun too. It just gave me the idea that Jeff Rieger, of course, who filled in for me the week before, which is easy to do, obviously. You guys had a really fun show to listen to, and I think maybe Jeff Rieger and Mark Fellauer should just take over.
We find our replacements.
Yeah, can we save an FTE that way? I don't know. I mean, they probably don't need much, right? I don't know. A
Jeff's
couple
got
of
a farting Tesla. He doesn't need anything else.
Yeah, a couple of sandwiches, and they'd be good.
Yeah,
they can take over. How was your holiday, man?
It was good. It was very, very busy, very packed with our family and our kids in town, and busy. I told our boss I did so much. I kept so busy during my time off for a week that I was like, I need to go back to work to get a break and to relax a little bit more. So
that's funny. I felt the same way on our forced breaks. I mean, let's just say what they are, right? Our colleagues are spreading that all over Twitter. No. I felt the same way. I think I had the week off before you did, and I don't. It was super busy, and I just said, God, I want to take a vacation where it's, you're just watching the Terminator.
Terminator 3, best one.
And holiday movies all week. Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I'm glad you're back, man. And
thank you.
I don't know if you paid attention to the sports world while you were gone. I know I tried to leave you alone. I made the mistake of not even texting you on Christmas because you were still on your break, so to speak.
Yeah, you were like, I want to respect your time off. Like saying Merry Christmas to a friend is not violating track or anything like that.
No, that's true. But it gets a little, well, we don't need to get into that. It's just good to have you back. It's good to see your face. I know the listeners out there can't see, but you're looking good. You're looking good.
Okay, now I'm looking good, but I'm not good because I have a bone to pick with you. I want to get this. It's been bothering me since last week, and I have to get it off my chest.
Okay,
all right,
let's go.
Okay, so last week in your podcast with Mark Fellauer, you said that me and maybe the other host of Soul of Detroit, we, quote, like ourselves a little too much on the surface. So I want to clarify this. I don't like myself too much. I love myself, Sean. Okay.
Okay.
Let me tell you this. I no longer have birthdays. Okay. I have the week of Carlos. I celebrate all things Carlos in mid-August. Okay. I'm not one of these tortured souls, I'm not going to name, who's racked with self-doubt and maybe might describe himself as the happiest depressed person he knows. Yeah, no. I enjoy all
that. Wasn't me.
Myself.
That was a former sports editor.
Yeah, but you've embraced it. You've appropriated Gene Myers as great.
It came into my mind. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. So Mike Elric and I, we love ourselves. We don't like ourselves. Okay.
I just don't know how deep that is. You know what I mean? I question that a little bit, especially with Mr. Elric. With you, it's a little fuzzier. But I'm getting
How
there.
deep is your love? Like the Bee Gees? No,
how deep is your self-love? How deep is your self-love?
You can't love yourself, Sean. Who can you love? That's the question.
I think it's easier to love other people than to love yourself for a lot of people. You know what I mean? Although the idea is if you can't do that if you don't love yourself first. I think that's hogwash.
Okay. One more thing I have to get off my chest, and then we can continue with the show. I'm sorry, Aunt Jeanette, Queen of the World. I'm sorry. One little thing is the World Cup. All the two things about the World Cup you guys brought up last week, all the hoo-ha about the World Cup, blah, blah, blah. Such a great game. Yeah. Whatever. Well, first, I'll just start off with this. That you guys are calling it the greatest game ever in the World Cup history. No, BS. Okay. Argentina almost choked that game away with like 10, 15 minutes, whatever. Only the referee knows how much time is left. Horrible. And then they go to penalty kicks. And when I used to play soccer back in the day, we had a championship game in my adult level, soccer league. We're playing championship game. We have to go to PKs. One of our best player just goes to the sideline, grabs his gear. He's walking off, and his name was Stewart. And people are yelling at him like, "What are you doing? Where are you going?" And he just says, "Penalty kicks aren't soccer." He just packs his gear and gets in his car and leaves. It's such a horrible way to decide. I mean, you're playing kickball, keep away for 90 minutes, and then you go to penalty kicks. I mean, extra time and all that stuff. But penalty kicks, you cannot. That's just stupid. You cannot, why not have a field goal kicking contest? You know what? You play till you drop, okay? This penalty kicks. Ugh. Anyway, all right. No. So no. And then I love how you said you couldn't watch it because you were in the press box. Like you obviously didn't get my Betamax VCR that I sent you for Christmas, so you can.
No, the press box was glued to the last bit of it right up to the game. It was funny, going from to the Jets Lions or whatever game you want to pick on a Sunday afternoon or early Sunday afternoon. Well, why are you worried about penalty kicks? Hockey has a penalty system. Right, and the college
that's for regular season games, not in the playoffs. In the playoffs,
no, right. In college football, they the overtime you have to go 25 yards, so that's kind of truncated in a way. I don't know. I don't really care about that. I don't know whether it was the greatest sporting event or not. An awful lot of the world took an awful lot of pleasure out of that game with a couple of teams with a lot of talent and two of the more transcendent soccer players in the last 20 years.
Have you ever watched Mbappe or Messi ever actually play in the whole game?
Well, yeah, of course I've seen Messi play whole games.
Other than FIFA soccer on EA Sports.
I've seen Messi play. I've not seen Mbappe play that much, but you don't need to see him play to see that. I mean, how thrilling a player he is and how quick and fast. And you can see why people love him. Change of direction, all that, the footwork. And then Messi's kind of runs. Yeah, you can see. I mean, I've watched plenty of that. It's just everything at stake too in the World Cup, I guess, right? In France and Argentina, whole countries. And you saw the footage, right? Afterwards of the celebration in Argentina. I mean, just, yeah. You would never get that excited about anything unless you were, I guess, standing in front of a mirror with your shirt off, admiring yourself, I guess.
See, you agree with me. I love myself. Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't think that. I think that's not love. That's vanity. It's different.
It's the same thing. Come on.
I think our producer would agree. He's got his hand in his palm right now. His face in his palm.
Palming. He's becoming an emoji, a live emoji.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to get off your chest?
No, that's it.
I think people that truly love themselves aren't that defensive, but and hadn't been waiting this long, but that's all right. We're not here to put you on the couch. It's not my job. It's not my responsibility. I'm just gonna, hey, love you from a safe distance and respect you, and that's what we're gonna do. What are we talking about today, man? We got the Lions, right? We had the Lions.
We have to talk about your Lions.
We had like 6-7 weeks of people were all of a sudden going crazy, loving this team and crying. Unbelievable. And then in one afternoon, everybody's like, oh, yeah, the heck with them. Screw them. I would say more, but this is a family podcast, right? So what the heck happened in Charlotte? And surely you were on social media and you've heard, you're part of this community. You've heard some of the reaction. You ever seen it just come crashing down like that? This goodwill, just boom.
I try to stay away from that as much as possible. I was kind of sports and Lions free for the most part. No, I mean, you knew that if they lost, you know what though? Here's the thing: is this was that is one day where I kind of wish I was writing, because I would have been the antidote to what you wrote. You were just hugging Detroit once again, embracing the fan base, which is really your two sons. But when you talk about the fans, but giving the emotional salve to the city of Detroit as only you can do, Sean, this was an inexcusable loss. Inexcusable loss. The Bears and the Packers, that they lost to them, division opponents, anything can happen. More understandable. That was horrible to lose that way, because it's so hard to play Charlotte, North Carolina. What a Thunderdome, Bank of America stadium is down there. That was embarrassing. And Dave Burkett gave them a bunch of Fs, and they deserved it. That was they almost didn't show up, getting run over and drug around the field, couldn't stop the run. And it wasn't like we lost, but they lost by a little bit. They just got manhandled. They were never in that game.
Well, no, yeah, they were and they weren't, right? What's interesting to me are a few things about this, and I'm trying to remember, because I wrote a couple of columns. I can't remember which one was which. And the first one, yeah, I agree with you. I wrote that there was the worst performance of the season, and they weren't ready. I think this is part of the process.
But did you assign blame? Besides just saying the obvious, did you assign blame?
Oh, you mean besides it? You mean besides the coach? Yeah, it was
everybody. Yeah, who?
It was the coach, and they're a young team. I think this is part of the process a little bit. I actually think, to your point about how Charlotte's not some great atmosphere, I actually think the atmosphere worked against them, because the stadium had no life at all. It was absolutely dead. And this is part of it. Part of being professional, part of being really good, and part of being consistent. And there are going to be weekends or games or whatever you want to say where you got to come up with it yourself. And they couldn't, and they didn't. And to me, that was the biggest lesson of all. I think between the weather and I don't mean cold making it hard to play. I just mean the cold making it lifeless. And then the half empty stadium. It was just kind of look, it's a basketball area, and
it's a NASCAR area.
That too, that too. But and they will support a winner like any place will. But there was so little juice in that stadium, and Carolina brought their own, and Detroit didn't. And it really wasn't any more complicated than that. And that's a big lesson. And so how do you prepare a team for that? How do you make sure that doesn't happen? Maybe Dan Campbell didn't quite know the team as well as he thought he did, and he and the staff had to figure some things out. The players obviously took responsibility too, and they should. But yeah, I don't think anybody saw that coming, right?
No,
they did not recover. I'm curious what you think, Carlos. That fumble, when Frank Ragnow and Jared Goff botched the exchange, when they were probably about to go score a touchdown, it was inside the 10. I think it was on first down too. And they go up 14-7 there. You wonder if it changes the psychology and gives them some of that juice, and it's a different game, or at least a bit of a shootout, or not. I don't know. Maybe it was just inevitable that they weren't going to figure out the run fits, but what does that say, though, that one fumble in the first quarter can completely change the momentum of the game, and it snowballs from there? I mean, how fragile is a team if that happens?
I don't know about that it changes everything, but certainly that's something we hadn't seen really from them making, and how many tip passes were there, the missed assignments, when you keep getting gouged to like this in the run game, when a team does something to you over and over again, they keep exploiting something that speaks to a deeper level of a problem. It's not just something weird or bad luck or SOL or whatever you want to call it. There's not one little thing.
No, it wasn't SOL.
There were so many things, in this game that just it didn't seem like what we'd seen the previous 6 weeks.
Or all season, I argued. I thought it was their worst ever of the year. They, other than New England, and even that. And look, in New England, it was 6-0 at the half, so they were at least somewhat competitive in that game. They weren't competitive from the minute that fumble happened. Right. Charlotte went 90 yards, 92 yards, whatever, right away. Detroit went, I don't remember, it was 3 and out or 6 and out or whatever it was. But they punted, and then Charlotte took a 21-7 lead. That was it. It was back-to-back drives, and that was it. The linebackers couldn't get off their blocks. There was very little penetration up front on the defensive line, right?
Yeah.
And they couldn't run the ball. That's, though, has been actually kind of a sneaky issue for the last 3-4 weeks. Yeah. They haven't been able to run a ball, but not like they were anyway.
Just remember this: when I'm advocating for them to draft a running back really high, and you want a guard, just remember that how bad this run.
I'm with you. No, we've talked about this before. I'm with you. I think they could absolutely use a running back. Jamal Williams is a good short yardage back, and he's good for the team in a lot of ways. And I think they'd want to keep him, but they need somebody that can. They need an explosive runner who's going to be a little bit more reliable.
Yeah,
and I hate to say that because both of us, respect DeAndre Swift and his abilities. He just been.
Why do you hate to say that? Who cares? He hadn't been able to stay healthy. They're players. They're just players. They're just dudes. They're just you got to move on from them. You can't be emotional. You can't. You might like a guy, whatever, but who cares? I mean, DeAndre Swift is not getting the job done. He's not the player that they thought he was going to be. They got to move on from him.
No,
and Jamal Williams, I don't know. I mean, you think they want to keep him because they like him in many ways, but he's really great in the red zone. Is he going to want to go to free agency? Is he going to want to test the market? Is he, someone will probably want to pay him more.
Well, yeah, if it just getting down to crunch of the numbers for sure. But no, it was just a weird effort in that. And then you just weren't ready to compete, and then they did not compete. And that fumble, if it doesn't happen and they take the lead, maybe they find the compete level and they stumble into it, and it's sort of we were talking about repeating accidental success before we started recording, and maybe they kind of get lucky that way, and that does because games can change that way. Teams can you can build your own kind of weird momentum that way. Not weird, but just momentum. But the idea that they would play like that, I think, was stunning, to be honest with you. We've not seen that all year. We haven't seen that once this season.
Against the Panthers.
Yeah. Well, no, for sure. Well, they'd won 3 or 4, I think, coming in, but they'd had a bad home loss to Pittsburgh the week before. So, no,
Sam Darnold, come on.
I just think, who looked great. Here he is feathering and dropping.
That is SOL, man. That is SOL. Making
some of the passes he
quarterback look like a Hall of Famer.
No, but it wasn't just they were making him look like some of those throws are like over the shoulder on the edge of the side. What? Like what?
Yeah. He saved it for the Lions.
It was. I mean, at some point, that's the thing because they were running, they were gouging him on the ground, and all of a sudden, Darnold's dropping dimes in a way you never see him do. So that was like that part of it might have been the same old Lions, right?
Well, remember his first game, right, against the Lions in Ford Field, he thrashed them. He just looked like for the Jets, he looked like a future Hall of Famer, and maybe he just reached back and accessed that moment again.
Yeah, I think that's what was so disappointing for you could feel the whole state sink, right? I mean, just because people had not been this excited about this team in a long, long time. And so to have that performance against that team and the holidays, and here you're thinking, okay, maybe you lose to Green Bay on the road. You understand that, right? But
part of the Bears at home.
Yeah, but to not, I think the biggest thing, Carlos, to me, again, be curious what you think, but not to have the momentum, not to have another week of that feel good stuff that these people were. I shouldn't say these people, the folks that surround us.
Your kids, your children.
No.
Two sons. Yeah.
I think that's what was so.
And your friend Amy in the basement.
That was what was so dispiriting, I think, to so many, is that they thought this run would, they weren't expecting the playoffs necessarily.
You want to keep it going. Hope, everybody's hoping is this ride going to continue? Are they going to win out? And no, I don't think anybody expected them to lose to the Panthers. So, but I think next week for the Bears game, people will be excited again. They're not eliminated yet. So, that it'll continue.
Yeah. And then we got some news, with the Jets that White is back, right? And Zach Wilson's been, I think, third string now, even behind Joe Flacco. And the New York Jets are playing at Seattle, so that helps with the Jets defense. No, and it's a road game. We got to go across the country, but but having White back at quarterback helps. If you're going to start looking at all the little things that might help the Lions get to the playoffs,
everybody's a Mike White fan suddenly.
Yeah, no, it's true. So
the future of the Lions franchise hinges on Mike White.
They're not mathematically
a football player, not the White Lotus creator.
Oh yeah. I haven't seen the second season. Yeah, no. So we'll see. We'll see. You're right. They're not quite out though, Carlos. I think it was shocking to see the effort, because I think that's one thing that has endeared this team to the fan base this season, is the effort has been there. And it's not that they didn't try. It's just that for whatever reason they couldn't find a competitive level. And that's a lesson. It also goes to show you, Carlos, and again, I don't know if you agree with this, but the margin for error, right? That's why you can't start 1-6, because most teams are going to have a stink bomb.
Yeah.
At some point in the season. They were, 14 games without really having one. And they finally had one. And it usually is going to happen. So you can't start 1-6.
It's not advisable. Yeah. That's, this is part of, and, you mentioned it, I think, but just in your columns is, it's part of a team growing, it's part of we can't forget that it's also not a linear path. It's not like, okay, the stock's just going to keep rising level the whole time. And next year they're going to start off where they, pick up where they left off. And there's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be dips and regressions, and, your schedule's torn off and you're playing in a unfamiliar environment, and the coaches don't get your players ready, and they don't know how to stop the bleeding once it hits there's all these little things that happen playing on the road. And, that's part of for the coaching staff, it's as well as the players learning how to not do that, not to have such a letdown. And the biggest thing, obviously, with this kind of team is, even though they're looking better and they've made some strides, good teams don't let this happen. Good teams, experienced, and it's part of experience. They don't just not show up when everything's available or they have to win out. You don't lose this kind of game this way. So it's a learning moment for them. And hopefully maybe, they learn from this next year.
Yeah. Or I would argue these next 2 weeks, right? I mean, it'll be a little easier to get up. I would imagine the crowd will be pretty good for Chicago, wouldn't you think? I mean,
lots of Bears fans. Yeah, sure.
Well, I would think, I think the crowd would still be pretty good, but yeah, to me, they got to learn that this, because if they do show this next couple of weeks, the same kind of effort that they showed against Charlotte, then that'll be an issue. By the way, Dan Campbell was just he was in shock almost in the post game.
Yeah, he didn't seem as he was like this. We got what we deserved.
Yeah, no, he was just he did not see that coming at all. Just they benched Jeff Okudah, right? In the second half.
Can they Pleasant again, or is that too late?
That's funny. That's funny.
I think that was the thing, right? The whole week, or the whole game, when you're getting manhandled the whole game, you're not really in this game. It's like he's had 2.5 hours to accept what was going to happen. And
and like I said, it wasn't just that they weren't in the right fits for the run game, which Carolina set records or whatever, running for 300 and whatever yards, but the linebackers, they weren't shedding blocks. It was right.
Yeah.
The young guys were out of position for sure. Anzalone really struggled, and he'd been playing some good ball. It just was all right. Yeah, it was a combination of a lot of things, and I don't know. We'll see. They still have a chance to get to 9 wins. It won't be easy, especially beating Green Bay on the road. But
they need help.
What do you think if they get the 9 wins, don't make the playoffs? How would you looking back? How would you consider the season?
Yeah, a success, really. You have to, 9 wins, whether they came early or late, that's going from 3.5 wins last year. That's dramatic. And it's not only just the win total, but how they got there, what they've done. And I think there's always going to be a bias as far as if you win those games late. It speaks to, they're improving, they're learning. There's always going to be that bias. They didn't regress or weren't, So I think you have to give them a lot of credit for that. even if they don't, even if they win they lose the next 2 games, they still have made strides. You know, I mean, it's undeniable. This team looks different. It's playing different.
For sure. I'm with you. And I don't know if you have some more Lions thoughts, we can talk about it after the break. I know you want to talk about your Michigan Wolverines.
The only one thing I wanted to go back yet again, another bone to pick. My last thing was you guys were all going off on this whole, you and Mark, about Caldwell and 9-7 and this. Bob Quinn wanted to hire Matt Patricia. That's why he fired him. He was looking for any excuse. He probably could have won 10 games and they would have fired him. I don't
remember talking about Caldwell.
Yeah, you guys talked a lot about Caldwell, and the black readers were unhappy with you, Sean. And was it would it have been fair, you know, if he wasn't, you know, black, would he have gotten a different shake? And he was boring, the gentleman coach. And you guys went off. You don't remember this in the pot? You should listen.
No, I remember that. No, I do remember that. I do remember the.
You guys were just wondering if he wasn't black, would he have gotten, you know, like he was. Bob Quinn wanted to hire Matt Patricia the minute he could. So he was going to look for any excuse and all this. Everybody's like, oh, 9-7 wasn't good enough. Well, it's like, he was trying to hire Matt Patricia. That was the whole reason.
Yeah, I don't know that he wanted Matt Patricia from the start. I mean, he was there, 2 years, 3 years. Yeah, there might have been.
Do you not remember this whole thing of how they used to take road trips together, scouting trips?
No, but wasn't he interested in Vrabel? He was interested in Mike Vrabel too. I mean, I think it was just a Patriot or somebody he was familiar with. I don't know. It had to be Patricia.
They were going to do the Patriots. That's what the whole plan was.
Yeah, but not necessarily Patricia until later. But
Patricia was the hot candidate.
He was eventually, yeah. He wasn't maybe when he first took over, but
no, he was the hottest candidate when he got hired, and
that year. But he'd been there for
even the year before that. He was. Everybody was like, he's the next head coach. He's the next head coach, and he was waiting.
No, it was a completely legitimate question to ask about Caldwell based on the history of the NFL. Right. I mean, for black readers to want to
it was
ask
obvious
that question.
That was the reason he got fired. It had nothing to do with him.
No, but that's a fair question for the Lions fans to have, for Lions fans to ask that question. Of course, it's a fair question.
No, it's not. It was obvious why he fired Caldwell. It had nothing to do with who he was or not good enough or whatever. And it was all smokescreen just to hire his buddy.
Well, that may have been true that he wanted to hire him, but I'm just saying that for readers to ask that question, it's completely fair.
No, I guess they can ask it. I mean.
All right. I mean, based on history, I mean, you know, these things don't happen in a vacuum. There's a reason people would think that in the first place, right? I mean, it's right. We got a messy society. That's why. In any case, let's talk more about that. Maybe not the messiness so much, although if you want to, that's fine. I know you want to talk about your Michigan Wolverines. And if you want to relitigate anything from last week's podcast, that's true. By the way, I'm trying to think here.
It's the Festivus in me.
Okay.
We're airing grievances.
Let's take a quick break. This has gone on way too long. We should have stopped the show. I think that'd be even better right now. But no, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Free Press Sports with Carlos and Sean. Welcome back to Free Press Sports with Carlos and Sean. Carlos, any more grievances? Any more things you want to relitigate? Nothing
yet. Maybe in the next segment.
Any more stuff you have to offer out there to show that you? I don't know. I don't even want to say it, man, because I do love you, and I know you can't help yourself. But the floor is yours, man. It's always yours. I mean,
you guys had a good podcast. It riled me up, so I wanted to bring you guys back to reality and keep you guys honest. So yeah.
No, there's your reality isn't reality though. That's the problem. Yeah. No, but seriously, anything else you want to? Well,
we're going to talk about Michigan. I did want to bring up the whole thing where you had they say there's no such thing as dumb question, but you asked a really dumb question of Mark last week when you're talking about Michigan and him being a Michigan fan and do you guys in the championship, who do you want to play, Georgia or Ohio State? And I think you mentioned the Cache.
That's not a dumb question.
That is a dumb question. It's a dumb question because Mark answered it. He answered a question because he was like, what? What are you talking about? Of course you want to beat Ohio State twice if you're a Michigan fan. Like, you think in 20 years, if they win the national championship, you think in 20 years, Michigan fans are going to be looking back and saying, "Oh man, remember when we beat that Kirby Smart Georgia team for the title?" Oh, now imagine if they beat Ohio. That is going to be we won the national championship beating Ohio State twice. That's going to be this legendary moment in Michigan football history.
Point. You're once again, you do this all the time. You do this in your columns, unfortunately, too. But the point is, what brings the greater risk? Nobody cares if you lose to Georgia. I mean, whatever. They'll be bummed. But if they lose to Ohio State in the national game, the title game, that's for eternity. That's all time that fan base will have, just like it's the other way. I mean, if you were to beat them, then you would have that over them. And if I'm not mistaken, Jeff Rieger, who actually is a Michigan fan, made the same point to you in your podcast the week before, and you don't understand that, which is shocking. But it's not that shocking because you didn't understand Lions fans until 6 weeks ago.
You don't want to lose to Ohio State, but the thrilling nature of I think that Rieger's not a Michigan fan. He's a Michigan basketball fan. He's not a Michigan football fan. Fellhauer is a Michigan football fan. I think those guys, they smell blood in the water. They taste it. I've talked to more Michigan fans since then, football fans, and they want that. They're confident. I think they're cocky. I think Michigan fans are cocky right now. And like, we want the Buckeyes, and to handle them twice would be amazing honor as we put our jackboots on their throats on the way to the, winning the championship game. I mean, that they can't imagine anything better.
If they beat Ohio State, it would obviously be something that, you'd have the rest of your life. The reverse of that would be a bummer, although it wouldn't be as painful as if you lost to Michigan State in the national title game. That would be you would hear it at the office and at the gas station. That would be much worse. I don't think either one could handle that. But that's almost too much. But no, the Michigan fans that won Ohio State in the title game won them because Georgia's a more difficult matchup, right? There's the unknown.
Nobody cares about that. It's all about rivalries and hate and emotion.
It's not. It's not about that. It's about who's going to give you the best chance to win the national title. At this point, what Michigan fans care most about is whatever gives them the best chance to win the whole thing. They want a national title.
State. No, they want Ohio State.
You're not listening. It's about what gives you the chance to win the national title.
No.
And that is Ohio State in their minds because they think of Georgia as this juggernaut, and maybe Ohio State will somehow upset them. And then that'll improve their odds. But the risk of that, the pain of losing Ohio State in the national title game is real. And Rieger pointed that out. And you clearly didn't listen to him, which is not shocking.
No, it makes sense. I mean, you always have to worry about that a little bit, but I think a real fan wants to. I mean, one of the great historic rivalries, and that you've owned that rivalry for 2 years, like, oh man, it's just too good to want to pass up.
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with being a real fan. It has to do with how you see the game. I mean, there are plenty of Michigan fans that are realistic, which would look back at the game, the Ohio State Michigan game from this year, back in November. Not that long ago, Carl. So, God,
it feels like an eternity.
It does. It feels like a decade. But would look back at that game and see that Ohio State controlled the line of scrimmage for most of that first half, right?
This just plays your into your narrative of it's all trenches and all this stuff.
No, it has to do with that Ohio State looked like the better team in that first half. Michigan had a couple of big plays, 2 of them, to keep it within, 21 or 20-14? I can't remember what the score was.
But they've always been a second half team this year. I mean,
no, but last year it was they have been a second half team, but they don't normally look like they get physically handled like they did.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out Ohio State kind of fell apart. And maybe, I know a lot of Buckeyes fans think that they're soft this year and their coach doesn't coach enough toughness and all that. It's not Urban Meyer. Ryan Day. No, that's their. It's funny, each fan base has its own sort of criticism, but I think that Michigan fans understand that it's not a given that they beat Ohio State.
No, it's not a given, but you have to like your chances if you're a Michigan fan, right? I mean, everything's going your way.
It's hard to beat them twice in a year, also, especially in college.
Yeah, but neutral site,
Yeah, no, that would help a little bit. And both those schools travel well, so I would imagine it'd be pretty.
There would be a lot more. I think there'd be a lot more Michigan fans in LA there would be Ohio State fans.
No, I don't know, man. That fan base travels like nobody's business. I mean, they probably travel. Ohio State and Alabama probably travel better than anybody, but.
Yeah. Well, don't listen to me. I just grew up in LA, worked for the Pasadena Star News, and we covered the Rose Bowl every year. So I saw Michigan fans all the time. So
yeah, right.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
And you saw Ohio State fans out there, right? No,
not as much. Michigan fans were different. Wisconsin fans were close in the Big Ten for as far as how nutty they were, but Michigan fans were a different level.
Well, they have a huge alumni base out there, right? For one, but I'm talking about just traveling. Ohio State's up there in the top. So, but again, don't argue or don't think about facts. Oh my God.
Just what I see. Just what I've experienced and seen.
No, that's right. That's how you do everything.
Sean Windsor's fact totem. Don't
worry about facts. Yeah. Why let science? I mean, listen to you, man.
Science.
I mean,
they don't study science at Ohio State. Come on.
This is unbelievable. I can't believe, by the way, we're not even talking about TCU. Like this is a foregone conclusion.
Is there any chance of that? I guess if the Lions can lose to the Panthers, Michigan can lose to TCU in Arizona, right?
They were losing to Rutgers. They were losing to, I'm trying to think of who, I mean, Illinois right now. Is TCU as good as Illinois? I mean, they were losing Illinois until the very end.
Yeah, TCU's had a great season. I mean,
they got an NFL they got an NFL quarterback. They run the ball all right.
I don't know about an NFL quarterback.
Of course, he's going to get drafted. I mean, he's an NFL quarterback.
Oh no,
that's what you say at this point.
He might get drafted.
No,
maybe.
He's not. He's might. He's going to get drafted.
He's a third-day quarterback pick at best.
He will get drafted. He's an NFL quarterback. Is he a star or
have you seen his arm
clipboard holder?
No, he does not. He's not. I mean, he was second in Heisman Trophy voting. I mean, he's had a very good season.
Have you seen his arm strength? Is that what you really great. Just asked?
His accuracy, his presence in the pocket.
I had to listen to you for 10 years talk about how it's not all about arm strength with Matthew Stafford, and now you're talking about.
No, I'm just saying. But that's the thing. The NFL thinks differently. I mean, it's not everything, but you got to prove yourself in the NFL. If you don't have great arm strength, you got to make up for it in other ways. I don't think this guy, Duggan, he really has like the tools to be like, oh yeah, this guy's he's draftable. I mean, I'm surprised. Like Hendon Hooker, I thought would be. I mean, I think he's not even a second round pick at this point. He's slipping.
Well, he's got an injury, right? I mean, that's part of it.
Yeah. He sounds like a Lions pick already.
He blew his knee out.
Yeah, but look at his body of work. I mean, I thought he would be. Yeah, maybe it is just the injury, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see, but it doesn't matter. Who cares if you're an NFL quarterback? I mean, this is not the NFL. They're still playing college. He's good in that system. So they're Sonny Dykes has a good thing going, and they've caught fire. They've had a great season. They could. I mean, what is Michigan is not unbeatable. Like you said. I mean, Rutgers and Illinois in those games. I mean. Part of that is the Big Ten, I think knowing your rival pretty well, getting up for these games, and it will be weird, right? Out in Arizona, neutral site. I don't know, Sean, you're the expert. Does TCU travel well? I don't know.
No. Yeah. It's a tiny little private school. I mean, even Duke doesn't travel that well. If you go to a Final Four and you've got Duke, Kansas, and, I don't know, Kentucky and whomever, Michigan State or Michigan or whatever. I mean, Duke will by far have the smallest fan base.
Really? Is it just Krzyzewskiville? Is that what they're built on? And
I mean, they do have fans that are North Carolina residents, non-Duke people, a lot like I don't know, the Cowboys or the Yankees have fans, or the Lakers, but they don't travel that well at all. They just don't have that many alums. I mean, North Carolina is right. That's the school.
Yeah.
They're like Michigan that way. It's like Michigan football. Lots of college football fans in our state who didn't go to Michigan love Michigan. Well, it's the same with North Carolina basketball. Not so much with Duke.
Yeah. So, no, that makes sense. You're right. The alumni base, the size of the school, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's just small private colleges don't travel. all that well, So it's just it's science, man. We were talking about science earlier. It's science.
How long of a flight is it from Fort Worth to Phoenix? To where
it would be from Dallas, and because the airport
Dallas Fort Worth, yeah.
Actually, the airport's in neither. So sorry, it's I want to say
I've been there. I know.
Yeah, it's Irving. It's it's longer than you think. It'd be at least 2 hours.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
I mean, because you think about it, you've got to go. I mean, Dallas Fort Worth is somewhat east in Texas, and Texas is massive. So you have to go over 3/4 of Texas, and then over New Mexico, and then halfway over Arizona. So it's a little bit longer than you think. You would think, oh yeah, they're right next to. Somebody was talking about that not that long ago, Carlos. Oh well, it'd be an easy flight for them. I'm like, no, I bet it's 2:20 in the air, and from Detroit to Phoenix, it's 3:15, depending on 3.5 maybe, depending on headwinds. So
that's all it is, 3:15.
On the way back. Sorry, it's probably 3.5 there with headwinds.
Huh.
Yeah.
You should get your license, your pilot's license, Sean. I think you're an aviation fan.
I am an aviator. It's what I wanted to do when I was a kid, for sure. Like when I went to I don't want to get totally nerdy here. This isn't nerdy. This is just, but it's simple though. It's like when the Jets played the Lions, the flight to Newark was 1 hour and 4 minutes because we had a tailwind, right? So the flight back to Detroit from Newark was 1 hour and 35 minutes. So a half an hour difference.
Yeah. Plus all the tears from crying Lions fans waiting, adding extra weight to the plane.
Yeah, no. And sometimes when you go into that area, you can really get vectored and you can circle. And you got 3 major airports within 15 miles, 20 miles.
Yeah.
And then plus White Plains, which is close. So think about that. You got JFK, Newark, and LaGuardia all right there. How'd you like to control that airspace?
You make your money, man. That's all those airports are terrible too. I think they're
Newark has gotten a little bit better. Plus there's a train to Newark, which is helpful, and there's a train to JFK. LaGuardia is the one. You got one of the best public train system or subway system in the country, or at least the most comprehensive. And there's no train to LaGuardia, right? So you got a bus. But
doesn't LaGuardia have a pod system, like when you at the airport?
A little bit, and they've
confusing.
LaGuardia is getting redone. And the terminals themselves are nicer. Newark has been redone a little bit. I've not been to JFK in a while, but you can take the train from JFK. Maybe in any case. How did we get into all this?
You want to be Maverick Mitchell. That's your dream, to be a naval aviator.
No, I didn't want to be. We did watch that on Christmas Eve, by the way.
Did you watch the better original movie first, or did you just watch? You pretend it didn't exist?
No, are you kidding me? That's not a very good movie. No, we watched Top Gun Maverick.
It's just on TNT every weekend. It's not a good movie.
Yeah, well, so was a lot of stuff. You know what I mean?
Casablanca.
Yeah, right. You're going to put Top Gun up there with Casablanca.
It's the Casablanca of fighter jet movies.
Oh my God, I can't believe you said that. I need time to heal after that and to get my head right. We got to do
rankings, by the way. We were talking about doing this. We got to do like end of the year story rankings, maybe movies. We need to do like movie rankings.
Yeah, I don't know that I would do that with you necessarily if you think Top Gun's a good movie, but I would do sports rankings.
Okay.
Story of the year. No, we can do whatever you want, man. You're the boss. But let's take one more quick break, and we'll be right back with more Fruit Press Sports with Carlos and Sean. And you got your favorite thing to tell us about. So I look forward to that. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Phil Friend, the host and producer of Spartan Speak, a podcast collaboration between the Detroit Free Press and Lansing State Journal focusing on Michigan State sports. Each week, I'm joined by the OGs of the MSU podcasting game. Freak beat writer Chris Laurie, and LSJ sports columnist Graham Couch as we discuss and dissect the latest sports news coming out of East Lansing. Not only is Spartan Speak one of, if not the longest-running MSU sports podcast out there, you won't find a show with two people as clued into the Spartans as Chris and Graham, each of whom have spent a decade-plus covering MSU and bring years of institutional knowledge and insight to the podcast. And once in a while, they'll let me throw out a take as well. Along with discussing the latest news, we'll break down the Spartans' last game on the hardwood and the gridiron. What went right? What went wrong? Jet sweep. Again? For both Mel Tucker and Tom Izzo, get you ready for the next game, make predictions, and so much more. We can also guarantee at least one reference to Kalamazoo every podcast. So if you haven't already, download, subscribe, and listen to Spartan Speak on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or on your podcast app of choice.
Welcome back to Free Press Sports with Carlos and Sean. Carlos, it's time. It's been a few weeks since I've heard your favorite thing, at least, directly.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it.
I'd like to hear it.
I liked last week was your reading your column, basically referencing your own column.
About my son?
No, about your friend Amy and the tortured fans and all that stuff for the Lions. So
Mark gave us the idea that to have a sports one and a non-sports one. I thought
I did like that. That was fun, actually. Maybe we should incorporate that, but that's a lot of work for you because you struggle to steal my one favorite thing, so you're gonna have to steal two favorite things from me. So that might be asking a lot, Sean.
Yeah, no, I'll come up with something. What's your favorite thing?
My favorite thing was having my break last week, and I was really sports free, and I was working. I think we were talking about this a little bit off camera, maybe with Andrew. I was talking about it, but it was part of the challenge of sometimes when you're on vacation or away from work is to not think about work. And in our business, it's such a mental game, always thinking about what am I going to do? What's my next story idea? What am I, this is interesting. And when listening to your podcast last week, certainly brought up a lot of ideas. And boy, I wish if I was writing a column about the Panthers game, it would have been so different, which is healthy, I think, it's to always be engaged, but you have to work hard sometimes to be disengaged and enjoy life in the moment for where you are in your life. And where I was in my life was not working at all. And it was enjoyable, but it took a little while to get there. And I just really enjoyed, being at home. My kids are home from college for the first time. They just started school. So having the house full again and doing all the fun things, the Christmas stuff and getting the tree and arguing over music and presents and shopping and all this stuff. And my wife and I binged the first season of The White Lotus, which is really fun. We had a lot of fun watching that. And it was just a nice, especially this time of year when things get really hectic. And I know, kind of watching from afar, watching you work, watching our other colleagues work and everything. And that's the one thing I did. I hope Anjanet's hearing this, so I want to make sure she listens to this. But I did read freak.com. That's the one thing is because it's a pleasure. That's not work. It is fun to read the newspaper, and it's actually old school form, but also digitally on freak.com. Make sure you subscribe. I'm sure we're running some specials right now. Sean gets a 10% cut of all subscriptions. So make sure you subscribe early. But yeah, it was fun, man, just to have that downtime. But it took a little while to get settled into it and to really step back from work, stop thinking about it, forcing yourself like, no, I'm thinking about a column idea. Don't think about it. Don't think about what's going to happen. Don't just, and the funny thing was I wanted to text you and Briquette and some other friends from work. I wanted to reach out to them and I was like, unfortunately, once you start that path, sometimes it devolves. It gets into like the work stuff and, hey, don't forget, make sure you ask this, whatever. And I was like, I had to resist that temptation. But I'm really glad to be back and in the mix. And I missed you. I missed Andrew. I missed all our other friends and coworkers. And as you know, it's been a tough time. Our top editor, Peter Baccia, who's going to be thanked yet again at the end of this podcast. He's leaving. It's been announced, and that's going to be hard. A hard transition. for the staff, for us. But it was an enjoyable time. That was my favorite thing, spending a week of self-reflection and trying to enjoy it, Sean.
Oh, it's nice.
Steal that now.
I really don't have anything to add to that or top that.
Steal it. Take it. Come on.
I mean, I enjoyed my break too, I guess, right?
I don't know. Did you?
Oh,
you don't
yeah.
sound like it.
Yeah, no, it was too short, to be honest with you. My favorite thing, Carlos. Let's go back to North Carolina. I don't have the same. I mean, I have roots in different parts of the South. I was a military kid and lived in different parts of the world too. So maybe sometimes it gets old. Oh, I used to be there, whatever. But I did live in North Carolina. I was a little tiny guy. My brother was born there. Not in Charlotte though. But in any case, I do have some really good friends there, and no family left at this point. But I don't know, Carlos. We had to go down, so we had this, weather system coming, right? And flights were getting canceled, and we decided to try to be smart, and so we went down a day earlier than we normally would for a Lions trip. And I shouldn't say we, I did. I didn't know Dave Burkett was also going to do that. He was going to try, and of course that's Dave. He was going to say, yeah, I'm going to take my chances on Friday. The game was on
Friday
Saturday,
night at midnight,
and I'm just going to go down at the last minute on Friday and take my chances. So Kirk and I had actually talked about it. I don't want to get too much inside baseball. The idea that there was a chance I'd be the only one there, right?
That's scary.
So, you just would have. It would have
actually do real work instead of writing a column.
No, you're right. I probably could have written the grades, but give everybody Fs. That would have been really hard.
It would have been A pluses. Come on.
Yeah, that would have been really, really difficult to do that. In any case, the great work that the great Dave Burkett does is between the week. It's like a great coach getting the team ready. The game is kind of, you know what I mean? That's yeah. In any case, I didn't know he was going to come down early too. It turns out everybody went down early, which was smart because the hundreds and hundreds of flights got canceled Friday, and I don't think we would have. Yeah, you imagine not having Dave there, and it was. I'm glad he did that.
So you got down there Thursday.
Yeah, we all did. I didn't know Dave got down there early until I saw him because he huddles up. I huddled up. I had people. Then we got the news about Peter on Friday, and that was kind of Anyway, I landed Thursday at around lunchtime, and it was raining, and I was kind of tired, and I thought I can just go check in, or I can suck it up because I haven't been down here in a while and get in my car and drive to Lexington, North Carolina, which is about an hour northeast of Charlotte. On the way to Greensboro. It's not far from Greensboro. On the way to Raleigh, Durham, and it's sort of the center of North Carolina barbecue. There is a little bit of west east because North Carolina is so wide, right, in terms of its barbecue, but that's kind of the cradle of barbecue in a way, in that area, and it's where the idea of pulled pork comes from. And
are you going to tell us you had a McRib sandwich? Is this what this is leading to?
And vinegar-based sauce on a coleslaw and so forth. And I don't usually get pulled pork when I go out because I can do it reasonably well at home. So I tend to get things out that are much harder to do at home, like brisket. The best example is
that's where your money's well spent. Brisket.
It's really, really hard to make, and pulled pork is just more forgiving to make at home, and when you smoke it. In any case, this place, Lexington No. 1, it's called. It's Lexington Barbecue. It's just little place kind of out on the edge of a small little town. Is worth making the trip to, and it's worth getting pork for. They only do pulled pork, or they do it chopped if you want, and they slice it too. And that's all. That's the only barbecue they have. And then they have hush puppies, baked beans, and fries.
Do they do burnt ends?
No, they don't. They don't do burnt ends. So you can get it on a platter, or you can get it in a sandwich. And so I made the drive. And even though I was kind of trying not to nod off, and it was raining, and I was thinking, what am I doing? Heavy traffic for a while until you get out of the country. And then it was kind of anyway. You walk in, and I immediately hear that accent, Carlos, in a way that you don't even hear in Charlotte, because Charlotte's the New South. It's a lot like Atlanta. There are people there from all over the country and the world. But I could hear that accent. And I miss that accent as somebody who spent a lot of my life in the South. And they're like, sit down, have a seat. They bring me, I get my hush puppies. They're the best hush puppies I've ever eaten. And a sandwich and a little something to drink. And the owner had sat me, and then he comes back over half an hour later. I kind of remembered him. I hadn't been there in 4 or 5 years probably. And he comes back and he wants to know how I was doing. We get to talking. Turns out he's got a neighbor out on his farm who's from the UP. And that was kind of fun. So he leaves. We're talking about desserts. He's like, "Oh, we got peach cobbler today." And he tells me what else. And I said, "How about that chocolate pie, meringue pie?" And he walks away and he comes back with a slice of chocolate pie. And he says, "Merry Christmas. This is on the house."
Aw.
And that accent of his. And I just thought, okay, this is why I love the South. He
just said you have to mention it on the podcast. That's all. Give him a mention.
No, he didn't at all. But yeah, that was great.
Chocolate meringue pie.
No, the pie was delicious and homemade and so forth. But the barbecue and the experience and the accents and just that kind of the mirth in there, it was fun. It was fun.
My family lives in Chapel Hill, and it's not the South. I don't get those. It's rare. It's a university area, obviously. It's like it does not feel like North Carolina at all.
Yeah, no, it's funny how much that's changed. Yeah, no, for sure. And Charlotte, similar. I mean, you can hear accents here and there, especially people that grew up there, maybe, and of a certain generation. But I just love that. I love to. I did it one night in Charlotte. I went to a Southern joint and had some grits and shrimp and grits and so forth, and that was great. Didn't hear any accents. But I love those kind of places too. And I don't know how much time Andrew spent in the South, but he might tell you. Yeah, exactly. He's giving us a thumbs up. But one of the things I love most too is you go down there and the restaurant, those kind of restaurants especially, the crowds are really mixed. It's just a lot more integrated. And I know that sounds maybe crazy to some people up north who wouldn't think of the South that way. Down south, people still worship in a segregated way as they do up here and everywhere, most places in this country. But restaurants down there, especially certain kind of restaurants, Meat and Threes, Southern Cooking Barbecue, they're pretty integrated in a way that's different.
You're happy reconnecting with the South and eating this genuine barbecue and all.
No, the barbecue.
Did you take Briquette with you at least, or no?
No, I didn't know he was in town.
He had his chicken nuggets in his hotel room.
I didn't even know he was in town. Yeah, but no, it's a great part of the country for sure, and that was my favorite thing. The bite of the barbecue, man. It's hard to beat that.
Your ratatouille moment.
Yeah. My mom didn't make that, so it didn't take me all the way back. But yeah. All right, man. We've been. It's good to be back, but we need to let these poor listeners, get on with our lives, don't we?
Yes, it's been too long. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, sorry. We apologize. Andrew's like, "Come on, can't we get the heck out of here?"
He's not editing the show. Yeah. He doesn't care. Look at that smile on his face. He doesn't care.
He doesn't
let
matter.
The world burn. This is Robin Chan's problem now. I don't care.
Who we thinking besides Robin Chan and Andrew Hammond? Who both producers to make this happen? Who we thinking? And we got so much movement. We can still thank Peter Bhatia, the executive editor, because
we shouldn't thank him anymore.
He's going to be around for another. Yeah, what are we thanking him for? Leaving us? I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Thanks a lot, Peter.
No.
Oh, I want to go play golf where it's warm or whatever excuse he's using. You know what I mean? Or he wants to go to more baseball games. Peter's a baseball guy like you.
Smart man.
Yeah. Okay.
We got to thank executive editors, co-executive editors, Anjanette Delgado, who I promise you to get mentioned more.
And producer.
And producer, and Kirkland Crawford, sports editor and executive producer. And of course, let's just do it for old time's sake. Peter Bhatia, editor of the Free Press.
We just thanked him. How many times are we going to thank him?
You know what? You never know. I've said this before, Sean. If someone's your boss once, they could be your boss again. So you never know down the road.
That's true. I could be carrying his bag on a golf course in Scottsdale. I don't actually know.
You would be the worst caddy. I
don't know. I caddied for a living when I was a kid.
Really? No, it's different though. You couldn't do it anymore.
Why not?
It's too
because I have no cartilage in my knees. What's that?
it's too subservient of a role. You'd question the whole dynamic of it.
No, I don't mind. I don't mind if I'm on that end of it. You know what I mean? I don't want to.
Why am I carrying your bag? Why aren't you carrying mine?
That you don't understand. That's how you. Again, this is what we talk about when we go to therapy. It's not all about you. That's how you would think, but I am the opposite. I would be much more uncomfortable having somebody a bag carry for me. And if you knew me at all, you'd know that.
Do me a favor. Next time on Soul to Detroit, ask Elric and Fellhauer what kind of a caddy would you be? Because you'd be
a
the
slow
worst.
one. I'd be a slow one, but I wouldn't be resentful. I would not want anybody carrying my bag. That's the difference.
That's true. That's true.
What would make me. That's what would make me uncomfortable.
Yeah, but you would also hate being a caddy too.
I didn't mind when I was young, as long as I get the cartilage in the knees and the ligaments are okay. You're totally fine. In any case, look, we want to thank you all for listening. We thank you for listening every week. Just glad you spent a little bit of time with us. You can obviously, as Mark Fellhauer pointed out, if you're listening to this, you know where to find podcasts. I mean, we're obviously at the places everybody finds podcasts. The important thing is to subscribe and to like us and to rate us. That's what matters. You know, that's what moves the needle. So please do that, and please keep putting up with us, or at least for one more week. I don't know if I have a podcast after next week, but we'll see. All right, good to have you back, man. Good to be back.
Thanks, Sean.
Good to see you, and enjoy. I don't know, the new year.
You too. Same to you.
Enjoy the Lions. Enjoy the Lions,
and to our listener,
and to our listeners. Yeah. Happy holidays, happy early new year, and we will talk with you all next week.